All right, all right. Race one in the books. This is Grid Gossip. My name is Dell, here with Julie, and we are ready to discuss the first race of the year. It was a good one.
Yeah,
You
but you
watched
didn't
it,
keep a
not
lid on
real
it.
time, so
You
I had to
you
keep a
you
lid on
texted
it.
me.
But
Holy smokes. Yeah, but
I did.
that is just as much
I said,
of
"Holy
a
moly!"
of a spoiler as like texting me the results. Because then I'm like, "Holy shit, something happened." But then I have the
It's a
natural
hint
like
that it
all I
wasn't
want
a
to do is
boring
go look it
race.
up. So then I looked it up.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't wait
I
to
like to
torture. I
torture you a little bit,
cannot wait to
especially when you don't
torture
watch it
you when
real
you can't
time.
watch the
It's
next Super Bowl
and all I
game.
said was "Holy moly!" I could mean anything. Yeah,
I don't know if
yeah.
you did see my Instagram post
I
this
did.
weekend though.
Oh, I see them. I
Do you
see
think
them.
I actually purchased the Ferrari jacket?
Um, I actually think you did, and it was really based on the text message you sent me. I guess it was yesterday, and I got to read it. It was such a like this is probably every like diehard F1 fans issue with new American fans is they just bandwagon jump. So
No,
if you
I'm
follow,
not bandwagoning. Listen. Brian's laughing at me.
yeah, he
Listen,
knows.
last year we talked about who our teams were, and I said I'm having a hard time with Ferrari because they're not doing well, and I just don't know. I feel like I can't fully commit to them as a team. And now I feel like no matter what happens the rest of the season, I can fully commit to them.
Then you should buy the jacket, or if you haven't, you definitely should. I mean, let's be honest. You were kind of playing like the Max and like
I
McLaren.
mean, I love Max. Love
Yeah,
Max. And
but
I love Lando.
you kind of came down on Ferrari towards the end of last year a little bit, and then they go 1-2, and all of a sudden you're right back on their nuts. So it's totally fitting, and I'm okay with it. But you got to own that though. You got to own that, and you should buy the jacket because you know the rule in jackets. Like if you go jacket, then that's your team at least for the next
I know.
24 months, no matter what
Yes.
happens.
Yep.
Speaking of
All my Max
Ferrari,
stuff is stale because he's number 1 now and not number 33.
33, yeah, but I mean, he may have to go back to 33 next year, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Speaking of your boys at Ferrari, we're going to talk a lot about them today for obvious reasons. It sounds like they're close to locking up an extension with your Spanish lover,
Mm.
which is exciting. So that team, that pairing
I
will
mean,
stay in place.
they definitely should.
Oh yeah. So I actually watched, not that I want to talk about it a bunch, but I actually watched free practice 2 and 3 because I was just
Oh,
really
wow.
curious on
You're
if
dedicated.
well,
Dedicated to F1 this
I
weekend. That's
was
why you were ignoring me.
I was focused. I was also trying to figure out like, is Mercedes really sandbagging? Do they? I was hoping they were going to pull
Mm.
something out of the bag, and it didn't really seem like they had much. And then on like the last like 15 minutes of FP3, Lewis puts a lap together that's like 100th down from Max, and you're like, oh my god, here we go. And then Ferrari and the Red Bulls put laps together that were 3-4 tenths better, and it's like, okay, so
Yeah.
they're really having package issues. That sounds really funny when I say it that way, but it was good to see them get a result. Qualifying, you knew this race was going to be interesting, or at least the beginning of the season was going to be interesting based on the results of qualifying. Obviously, Leclerc took pole, which was
Yes.
cool. Max was right behind with the 2 spot on the front row. Who did we have
And
third?
what year did he take pole but then not finish the race?
I think
He
that
like
was
got out the first
I
lap.
think it was 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was probably a little bit of deja vu for him, at least for qualifying. I'm sure he was holding his butt cheeks together as he got through that first lap of the race.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that first lap we'll talk about it was good. So you had Sainz third, Sergio
Mhm.
4, Hamilton 5th. So that made it very clear that Mercedes was not sandbagging. And then his old buddy Bottas on the third
I
row with
loved
him
that.
in 6th. And notable mention, K-Mag out of the Haas pulls a clean 7 spot. So that's what you had in qualifying. Race was I was nervous for the start of the race because I don't know about you. Like, I don't know how I think we all view Max the same way, which is he's an aggressive driver. Like he's going to stick his nose in there and put his elbows out. But I also feel the same way about Leclerc. he just hasn't had the opportunity to do it as much. Like, you remember him in Vettel, like,
Mhm.
he didn't give a shit. So I
Yeah.
was actually pretty nervous. I was, not nervous, I guess I was just really excited to see if they might make contact. Um,
But they're like friends. So I feel like they have like friendly competition versus like Leclerc and Sebastian who like didn't like each other, and then Verstappen and Hamilton. Like Leclerc and Max are friends. So I feel like it's like a little more friendly.
so yeah, we get the start of the race. Leclerc into turn one, clean. And the race was off and running, which was good to see. I sometimes seeing crashes in turn one is cool, but like not to start the season, So
Yeah.
so you had Leclerc in turn one as the leader, and he led really the whole race. We'll talk about when Max passed him briefly. The big news out of the start of the race was Bottas starting in sixth, dropped 6 places in the first half a lap. I mean, it's like he just forgot to press the gas. I don't think he got out of dropped a clutch. I don't know what happened,
Mm-mm.
but that's a pretty standard start for Bottas. I feel like last year he just had terrible start after terrible start, so I wasn't surprised, I guess, but it was a bummer to see. And then K Mag jumped up from seventh to fifth within the first, I think, 4 turns. So it was a good start for him. And then I believe it was the first lap too. That's when we had Ocon bump into Schumacher and spin him out. And he got a 5-second penalty for that. And then, Schumacher had a good race, but that definitely ruined the possibility of getting the points for him, which
Hmm.
was a bummer. So that was the start of your race.
Potential there for him
Oh
this year,
yeah,
though.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you saw what K Mag did with it, and obviously, it seems like they're going to get along quite a bit easier. So I'd be pretty excited if I was him. For sure, for
Yep.
sure. So yeah, that was the start of your race, and that pretty much that order held for a good, 14, 15 laps. Um, and it wasn't until lap 17 that Max used DRS down the main straight to pass Leclerc into turn one, and he did it
Mhm.
back to back laps. And Leclerc returned the favor by passing him at turn four in both laps, and it seemed like from that point on, there was a lot. I couldn't really hear because it was the bar, but it seemed like there was a lot of radio messages going into Max at about that point throughout the rest of the race about like the brake temperature and things
Yeah.
like that. So, you kind of got the gist that maybe the Red Bull wasn't completely, um, you know, perfect.
The other thing that happened in the race is like McLaren got
Oh,
nowhere.
I think that might be a bigger story than the Ferrari, which is a great story. They were so bad. So bad.
So
So
bad. I mean,
bad. They
that was
yeah, I don't know
terrible.
if it was Norris or Ricardo. I can't remember which one, but like whoever was behind, they were both like bottom 15. They got
Daniel got 20th and Lando got
yeah, I think
18th.
Ricardo got lapped in the first 20 laps or something like that. It was crazy how bad that car is. That's going to be really interesting.
They spend way too much money for that.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah,
sponsors?
I mean, it's really bad, and I mean, it's not even close. And then out of nowhere, you had a engine failure from Gasly, uh, and his car caught fire at the exact same place that Grosjean crashed. Was that a year ago? A couple years ago?
Crazy.
Yeah, which was
Years
really
ago.
weird. And he had to jump out of the car, and they had to extinguish the car, which brought out the safety car. And, of course, that makes things excited because all the cars get packed back in. And at that point, were you thinking Max was going to win this race, or you still didn't have any faith?
No, I still was hesitant because of the
Mm-hmm.
radio. What was happening
Yep.
over the
Yep. And then
radio.
he lost the power steering, I think, right
Yep.
before they broke off from the safety car again.
The race ended with Leclerc in first, Sainz in second, Hamilton, Russell, Mag, Bottas, Ocon, Yuki, Alonso,
Yeah.
and
Which
Joe,
is also really cool.
which is yeah, super cool for him. My last snippet about the race, an off-grid gossip piece, was that so I guess Leclerc played a joke on his engineers in the last lap and told them that his power unit was failing and he wasn't going to be able to finish. And so they all started to like panic, but he was just kind of joking with them, which I think is
I
so
heard that. I haven't been able to find the radio. Like, why is that not on F1?
I haven't either. I read it somewhere. But it's
Yeah,
definitely
that
giving me a
actually
chuckle.
reminds me. I need to go back and buy the F1 TV so I can listen to the radios again. I didn't have it last year, and I kind of really missed it. So I'm going to chalk up the
Mm,
$75 or whatever it is, and because that would be
nice.
that alone. Just hearing someone like do that, so brutal. His race engineer
Yeah.
too is so funny. Good job, P1. Good job. It's like, oh my
Yeah. I mean, you have to be I feel like they're all so intentional with their words that they're using. Like a lot of them say understood, not like okay. And I feel like they say like understood because like okay can be like interpreted like many different ways. Like if you start to pay attention to what all the engineers say, it's always like these sounds like why don't you just be like sounds good or like roger that, but they say like
yeah,
understood. Like very
it's very
serious
formal. Yeah,
calm
like
tones.
a firm instead of confirm, like a firm,
Mhm.
plan A, plan B. But you have to, the other thing too is you got to
Yeah.
be careful because the other teams from their headquarters, they're listening to your radios and they're relaying that real time.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny. I think Italian Ferrari's race engineers, they're the funniest over the radio though because they save it seems like they say very little now with Leclerc winning and Ferrari going 1-2. I bet you we get a lot more Ferrari radio play, which will be
Yeah, I'm
good.
excited.
But awesome. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Check us out on Instagram at Grid Gossip F1, as well as our website, and we will check you fools later.
You're listening to Grid Gossip.